tribute to the nature boy. What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you, one and all, to the Wednesday morning edition of the Off Base podcast. The podcast carefully crafted to remind you to open wide and suck on a fat one if you think you're the only one. I am your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass, and it's 46 degrees in the city of Aurora. It's 7:56 in the a.m. on Wednesday. 420 pot smokers. April 20th, 2022. Chaw time, bitches. Here we go. There we go. My wife's least favorite part of the podcast, and I understand why. It's disgusting. It's gross. Oh, here comes a bus behind me. Hey, bus. Bus driver looking at me like he knows something. Looking at me like he's brand new. Dude, I get it. All right. Off we go. Wild blue yonder. So, interesting today. So I started work a little bit later today because I needed the sleep. Went to bed around 10:30-ish. 10:30, 11. And got up at 6. And really did not get up during the night at all, which was great. So I got about 7 hours. I was a little bit tired this morning, but there's a reason for that, okay? There's a reason. There's a reason for everything. Stepson and I, we hit the gym. Had a pretty good workout, too. Did back, shoulders, and biceps. And for the shoulders, we did exercises for which you pull the weight towards you. One of them being a shoulder shrug to work the traps, and then lateral shoulder raises to work the this part of the shoulder. And it was good. It was good. I got a really good pump on the biceps yesterday. The bicep. And stepson, he's still kind of, he's young. Like over the weekend when we did the Air Force PT test, it was funny. My wife was timing me when I was doing my push-ups. My push-ups. And you have to do it for a minute. So in the first 30 seconds, I got 40 push-ups. But then in the next 30 seconds, I only got, I think, 9 or 10 more. Because, you know, your body's worn out. You're worn out. Now, my stepson might be able to do, well, I don't know. Anyway, he said when he did his, I wasn't there for his because I actually had to leave to go pick up my son. But he said actually I was there. I was there at the end of his, sorry. I was leaving, big yawn. I was leaving to go pick up my son. His stepson was finishing his push-up routine. And he said he got 42 in a minute. However, he does not go down so low that he makes a 90-degree angle with his elbow and then push back up. He makes about a 45-degree angle. So yesterday he was doing dumbbell curls, and you know we were sitting side by side with each other as we were going through the set, and I go all the way down and all the way up, right, to get that full range of motion to lengthen the muscle, strengthen the muscle. He's going like halfway, and he's like, I upped the weight, it was hard. And I'm like, come on, dude, you didn't even go all the way down. You're not even getting the range of motion to make it hard. And the point is to make it hard. But I don't mind. He's young, you know, he's working it out, he's figuring it out. First time in the gym, I'm just happy that he's stuck with it throughout the entire year. He's done well. So now next month when we get to Murph month, May is the month of the Murph. I'll still be going to the gym 2 times a week, but also be doing 3 Murphs per week. And then I also want to incorporate yoga so that I maintain my flexibility. So when we do Murph month next month, after that, he's going to be doing some traveling. He's going to go see his buddy in Texas in June, and then he's spending the entire month of July and first half of August with his father in Virginia. So he will, on paper, I guess. No, not on paper. He will, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. He's going to be done with his 4 phases by the time we hit June. So the fact that he started with me in August, middle of August when we started, he'll have gone 10 and a half months. He'll have done a really, really solid job of sticking with it. Now, I don't know if his frame is necessarily showing the work that he's done yet, because it would be if he was doing more and if he was eating better. But he's still a carboholic. And like I said, he's only 15. He'll figure it out. Working out or building the body, it's a very, very personal endeavor. If you want to get better at it, you'll do research on it, you'll track things yourself, and you'll learn, and you'll do awesome. But if you don't want to learn, then you don't want to learn. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So we'll see. So anyway, going back to last night, and the reason why I went to bed later and got up a little bit later, because when we got home, I think my stepdaughter allowed my stepson to choose what we were going to watch. And we got home at about 7:30. I think 7:15. And normally we get ready for bed at 8:30. Okay? This sucker goes ahead and he puts on the Batman. Not the Christian Bale Batman. The new Batman with Robert Pattinson from the Twilight series. Now, first things first, let's get this logistical fact out of the way. If we go to bed at 8:30, that means we can only watch about an hour of this thing. So I warned them when they started it. All right, we can only watch about an hour. Okay. Now, let's take a step back. This movie came out during the pandemic, and I remember seeing the trailers. I'm not a huge fan of reboots of movies that have done extremely well and have crushed it, and somebody else has a bright idea to come along and do it a different way, tell the story a different way. It's like, come on, man. I mean, Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy with Christian Bale was fucking awesome. And, having Heath Ledger playing the Joker and Tom Hardy playing Bane, it's like, holy shit. You are set when you've got villains like that, when you've got actors like that are making the movie come to life the way in which those two guys did. Just phenomenal, right? However, when I saw the trailers for Robert Pattinson's Batman way back in the day when they were first getting ready to release it, I was like, this looks pretty good, man. I think I might actually see this remake. But time goes on. You're a husband, you're a father. Things fall through the cracks, through the wayside. You don't pay any attention to it. So stepson puts this on last night, and I'm like, in my mind, I didn't say it. I'm like, well, I've actually wanted to see this. And we get through the first hour, and I was completely bought in. I was like, fuck. Because I knew if I watched this thing all the way to the end, and I got up on my normal time, that I was going to be exhausted, and I wasn't going to get the required 7 to 9 hours of sleep that I need for my body to recover. which is why I got up a little bit later. So I was bought in, and I wanted to see it through all the way to the end. There were so many good things they had going on. Number one, Michael Giacchino did the score. All right. Now, Hans Zimmer is probably the John Williams of this generation. That man has done so many different scores, movie scores, and has done them well. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean, Gladiator. These are just two of like 100 that are coming off the top of my head. He did Interstellar. I mean, he's done it all. He did the Batman. He did the DC as well. The Superman. I'm sorry, the Zack Snyders. He scored those. Man of Steel. You know. Now, what the fuck? I can't even talk. Now, personally, on a personal level, I have one composer, present day composer, that I like way more than Hans Zimmer. And Hans Zimmer is good, right? He's really good. But one composer I like way more than him did the music for the Batman that I saw last night. And his name is Michael Giacchino. Michael Giacchino first came into my mind way back in the day, for those of you who remember the TV show Lost. Michael Giacchino scored that entire series. And that was one of the things that really made that what do I want to say, series, story, whatever, special. Because J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof, I think, were the writers and the producers and the directors of Lost. They knew how to craft the story from the writer standpoint. But you throw Giacchino in there, and it just turns it up to a whole different level. Michael Giacchino also... I gotta pass this truck. Michael Giacchino also did the scores for... He continued to work with J.J. Abrams. He did the Star Treks. Oh, the new Star Treks with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, with Benedict Cumberbatch playing Khan. If I'm not mistaken, he also did some of the Star Wars with Michael Giacchino. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on that. But there have been just anytime his name comes up as a movie score, I'm like, oh, of course, no wonder that movie was good. It's very rare that a Michael Giacchino score doesn't move me in some way, shape, or form. And his Batman theme was pretty fucking sweet. It just made perfect sense. It tied in perfectly with the tone of the movie. I mean, this dude, he knows what the fuck he's doing. His Batman theme, all it was a bass drum. Very, very simple. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Very simple, but conveyed a whole hell of a lot when you tie all the other pieces together. Stepson and I really liked Robert Pattinson's costume, so I'm moving away from the music. Really liked the costume. And the fact that Pattinson is so tall and thin just gave Batman a really, really thin look to his face. Pattinson looked great as the Batman. And might I say, he might even be my favorite Batman to date. Like Christian Bale, I'm not knocking him, man. That was an incredibly solid performance through 3 movies. But Pattinson's the real deal, dog. And even as Bruce Wayne, he looked really good. But what was more striking than just the look, so whoever cast him, I think cast him perfectly. Just really, really good. More than that was the way in which he chose to play the Batman. Everything was so fucking deliberate and measured, except when he was fighting, because you have to react, you have to be quick. But everything else was just slow, methodical. I was like, this is fucking deep. Like he really captured the essence of the Batman. Now, I didn't have any preconceived notions of what the essence of the Batman was, but after watching him portray the Batman, I was like, wow, that's who the Batman is, man. Slow, measured, methodical. Man, it's very impressive. All right, so we go from the score to Pattinson to the script. The script was layered with good shit all the way around. And he had good supporting actors. Oh, by the way, speaking of, I was going to say good supporting actors. Fucking Colin Farrell played the Penguin. Didn't even recognize him. He played a fat penguin. Oh my God, he was so good. So all of the supporting characters, the script just developed them all so well. Deep. Every time they would come on screen after you're introduced to him, you're like, oh, okay, I get this guy. And the intrigue, oh man, that script was really, really good. So, I mean, they developed, obviously, Pattinson very, very well. Jeffrey Wright played Commissioner Gordon. And at first, well, he wasn't Commissioner Gordon, he was Lieutenant Gordon. At first, I was like, oh man, it seemed like they made Commissioner Gordon a black guy just to make him a black guy, right? To get it racially balanced. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. So at first, when I saw that Gordon was black, I was like, oh man, they're just there we go again, putting a square peg in a round hole. But it's Jeffrey Wright. And I have watched Jeffrey Wright ever since he was on 6 Feet Under in the HBO series way back when. He was fucking awesome in 6 Feet Under. So I've been a Jeffrey Wright fan. And of course, he was in, what the hell was it? Was it the Mission Impossibles? No. It was the James Bonds. He was the American liaison in the new James Bonds. And he's been in a ton of other stuff. And every time I see him on the screen, I'm like, that dude's fucking awesome. And the cool thing about him is, just from a race perspective, just to go back to this real quick, he plays the character. There's no like pointing out white, black, or whatever. So as soon as I recognized that it was Jeffrey Wright, I was completely okay with it. I was like, yeah, okay, Lieutenant Gordon, he's black. It's Jeffrey Wright, man. I'm gonna watch him all day long because he knows what the fuck he's doing. So I didn't have that distraction in my mind at all. And the opening scene that they had with the Batman, when he beats up the gang on the subway, I mean, it just reminded me immediately of Infinity War, of Thanos. The first time we actually see Thanos in an extended scene and get to see what he can do. And when you introduce your character like that, a badass character, they have to control the scene. They have to kick the shit out of everyone in the scene. And Thanos beat up the Hulk. So you're like, okay, yeah, this guy is not to be trifled with in any way, shape, or form. Pattinson's opening scene is exactly what they had him do. And when he did, and he kicked the shit out of that entire gang on the subway, I was like, okay, I'm buying into this Batman. So I bought into him immediately, script-wise. And that's more of a directorial and editing thing there, to make your new Batman look awesome, and they did. But script-wise, holy shit! So you had Batman, you had Jeffrey Rush playing Lieutenant Gordon, who did awesome. You had Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman, who she also played Psyche in the X-Men, and she fucking knocked it out of the park as well. She had fight scenes, and I believed her fight scenes. A lot of times when you throw a woman into the mix, fighting guys that are 250 pounds, and she's obviously under 100, it's like, yeah, there's no way that she can beat this dude. And if the dude ever gets a hold of her, that's it. He'll just strangle the life out of her. But they filmed her fight scenes in a very believable way. So I was happy with that as well. And her character had a lot of depth, man. And she has such a phenomenal look. She's a Kravitz, you know? Lenny and Lisa Bonet, give me a fucking break. I mean, she's just a joy to watch on the screen. So, you got those three. You got Colin Farrell playing a penguin. Who's a fucking man. You had John Turturro playing Carmine Falcone. He also crushed it. Last thing that I really remember him in, I mean, obviously he was the butler in Mr. Deeds. He was fucking hysterical in that. And the role that I hated him in, just because he made him look like a fucking dope the whole movie, was Transformers. That was just fucking dumb. Where I originally got a lot of respect for John Turturro as an actor was in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? With him and George Clooney. And I forgot that other guy's name. He's always in a ton of shit. He was the jailer in Minority Report. If you dig up the past, all you get is dirty. That was his line in there. But Turturro, he did a hell of a job. And then the kid who played the Riddler, I wish I could remember his name, but he did a fucking nice job as well. I mean, I have zero complaints about that movie. I'm not going to spoil anything for my two podcast listeners in case they want to go and watch it. But they provided a hell of a twist on the traditional Gotham backstory that made total sense for the way in which they wanted to tell this current version of the story. It was really good. Oh, yeah, and Andy Serkis played Alfred. Andy Serkis might be one of the most versatile actors on the planet, doing the voice of Gollum, and he was Ulysses Claw in all the Marvel movies, and of course a ton of other shit, but those are the only ones coming to mind. Morning.
Great to see you.
Thanks, man. And one of the things that I really, really like when I watch movies like this is that the celebrity does not get in the way of the character. So that not once did any of these phenomenal actors get on the screen and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw her, or I saw him in blah, 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 or I saw him in this movie, in that movie. Every time they came on screen, I was like, oh, what's this character going to do now? None of them did anything outlandish that would detract from where we were headed as an audience and trying to figure out, well, how's this thing going to end? Because, there's plenty of characters. Jim Carrey, of course, I mean, tremendous talent, obviously. One of my favorite guys. I quote Dumb and Dumber all the time, Ace Ventura all the time. But when he comes on screen, he's a distraction. Let's face it. In a movie like Ace Ventura, his distractibility makes 100% complete sense because Ace is so outlandish. And, the ending of Ace Ventura is also outlandish. At the time when it came out, it was presenting our first transgender villain. That was rare back in the day. So, I mean, to have the audience go along with that and believe that, it kind of made sense to have Jim Carrey play the role because, with how crazy he is, to prepare you for such a crazy ending. Now, all that made perfect sense. But when he's in other movies and he's doing what Jim Carrey does, it's a distraction. Let's face it. Just thinking back to his Riddler, in the Batman. When he did it with Clooney, he was distracting. It's the bottom line. Anyway, none of the actors got in the way of the story. And so, like I said, I'm not going to spoil the story, but I just realized that we're back on base. And I've been talking about this shit. Highly, highly recommended. Robert Pattinson might be the essence of the Batman. So if you got yourself 3 hours, dive in and enjoy it because Matt Reeves is the guy who directed it. Matt Reeves crushed it with Michael Giacchino's score. All right, enough about it. I'm back on base. I'm hungry. Got to get back to work. I'll smell you guys tomorrow.